Welcome to Episteme Entrepreneur, the media dedicated to science, technology, and innovation. Today, my friend is co-hosting this event with me, Dr. Benjamin Delsol. He's a quantum physicist and a European patent attorney. Hello, Benjamin. How are you?
Hey, fine. Thank you, Harry.
Perfect. Today, we have a fantastic guest. His name is Roy Melzer. He is a patent attorney and computer engineer by training. He is the head of computing technologies department at the Reichman University. He is also a patent attorney and head of software information system department at the Ehrlich Group. You correct me then if I bad pronounce it. Roy is also the contributor of a great book published by Springer titled Intellectual Property Management for Startups under the supervision of Professor Dr. Martin Bader and Professor Dr. Sevin Suzergoglu-Melchior. Roy's chapter is about Israeli startups and ecosystem, and that's why we wanted badly to have him here with us as a guest, because this subject is so great. Everybody hear about the success of Israel as a great nation of technology, innovation, science, and startups. We hear that the Nasdaq is full of Israeli startups. So we want to understand what is your secret. Hello, Roy. How are you?
Hi, good. Nice. Thank you for hosting me.
Fantastic. I will just try to see if we can make a better settings here to have you. I will test it all.
Yeah, another one.
Another one. This one is not good, no?
No, it's not so good, this one. Nope.
Roy, could you start to little bit present your background and how you ended to study computer engineering and why you let's say you left doing research and development to commit into the law of intellectual property, because it's always interesting to see how what is the journey of our guests and why they became the professional they are now today.
Sure. So I started university and I studied computer science, but I also studied law. And when you study, I started to work in as a computer programmer at the industry in image processing. And I worked in the security industry. It was related to helmet alignment and head-mounted displays for weaponry. And because I also studied law, I had to do an internship, because if you want to be if you want to be also a lawyer, you have to do an internship. So I decided to do an internship, and it was only made sense to have it on the patent law side because of my background in technology. So I went and studied law, and after that, during that process, I was more involved in litigation processes. And at a certain point, I always remember there was this painting above the, behind the back of the guys that I worked with. It was a cow, and the cow, you had one peasant catching the tail, and the other peasant catching her horns, and you had the judge, which is not the judge, actually the lawyer that milks the cow. So for me, it was a good indication that I don't want to be in litigation, because that was because I don't want to milk. I don't want to enjoy the fight. It wasn't a place for me. So I knew I will go back to creativity, and then they told me, okay, if you already did a year internship as an attorney, if you maybe you should complete the patent attorney internship. It might be more suitable for you, and I did it, and I became a patent attorney. It's almost 20 years ago. Yeah, that's
So it's quite, of course, natural, when you have a science or tech background to, to commit into the patent, the law of patent, and to become an expert in this field. Of course, divorce litigation or I don't know, other kind of law is not naturally, but okay. So it was, but you like, you like it when you study this specific this specialty in law, right?
When I studied law, I was more interested in, I focused on intellectual property also in my studies, but I think that the moment that I started to work with inventors, which is more technological and less litigious, that were the point that I really knew I like this process, because you can, it's actually, as we say as the patent attorneys, it's the only job in the world that someone is paying you to teach you. So you actually study, you learn from your inventors, you learn from your clients, and this is a very interesting position. Usually you pay to be taught, and now someone's paying you for teaching you. It's nice.
This is also something that I say usually to Benjamin. Patent attorney have this particular position, to observe all the innovation bubbling everywhere. You have because you have the tools to follow all the innovation bubbling everywhere, while scientists, engineer, and innovator can't. They're in their silo of innovation. They don't have this kind of beyond vision of the innovation.
Yeah, and I think because it's also relatively multidisciplinary. As a patent attorney, you're doing a lot. Of course, you have your specialty. For example, in my case, it's computer technologies, but you have computer technologies which are related to health, to security, to avionics, to autonomous driving, generative AI, to AI. So you're in a position to combine technologies, and which is an interesting position indeed.
Benjamin, do not hesitate to interrupt me.
Yes.
You know how worthy am I. So do not hesitate to interrupt me.
No, and it's true, and it's a mix, but it's also a mix of fields, because it's also business, innovations, law, science, technologies. So it's really a very special position, I think, because we are able to understand the business of our clients, the technologies, and to use law to protect their ideas. So from my point of view, it's an exceptional work.
Yes.
So how did you join the Ehrlich Group, and because in your bio, I maybe you correct me, I read that you co-founded this group, right?
Not exactly. I joined this group when it was called Ehrlich Partner. It was an office. It was specialized in biotech, but also in computers. They had a computer department back then, and I was trained and still being trained from a European perspective by Jeff Melnick, which is a European patent attorney. And so he gave me that perspective, and still giving it and helping from that perspective from time to time. And but over the years, we built this department, and it became the largest department in the firm also.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you articulate this job with your position at the university, at the Reichman University? Is it something with the wall, or do you have a deep connection with the university and the researchers and the TTO?
So in Israel, actually, our job is really segregated and separated from the university. In university, my position in the university is related to something relatively different. It's not about patent law or intellectual properties. I'm giving a course on the ethics for entrepreneurs, which brings the position of how entrepreneurs should incorporate their values and ethics into their projects, and how to make sure that the projects comply with ethic rules, and some ethics in fundraising and ethics with investors. But I think the most interesting point is to make sure that those guys understand that the technology is operated in a blue ocean. There is usually no law that governs new developments because the law is running after the tech. Technology will always be faster, and they have to know how to create their tech with ethic rules and values integrated into the tech, and to think in advance about matters like privacy, security, and others, and things that you cannot even imagine. We can see it now. We can talk about it for an hour, but
with pleasure. So it's great to you. Thanks for clarifying, your position at the Reichman University and also in Ehrlich Group, because just if I read your bio as an outsider, just reading the screen, I was making a kind of fantasy, that you were in the Reichman University helping the TTO, to decipher the next big thing, and then you help them to, to patent the thing. Something like that, because we always want to see that Israel do things differently than here in Europe and elsewhere.
Yeah, I guess that I wouldn't say it's completely different. It's I think the Israeli let's take it from a different perspective. For example, if you take Germany. Germany, for example, is a leading technological entity, in Europe, and of course a role model for many countries, including for Israel or Switzerland, of course. But alles ist langsam und sicher. Okay, so you have to go safely and slowly, and to make development in a very safe way and in a slow manner. And usually it's a step by step. So we call it a very much incremental innovation. Okay, when you say an incremental innovation, you imagine something that you have a mouse with two keys, and then you have 3 keys, and then you added a scroll, and then you change the shape a little bit, and now it's wireless, and now it's wireless with lights, and now it's folding. So it slowly, incrementally changes, so to add some simple details, and this is actually the most important innovations that one can have. Okay, because this is how you develop science. Science is developed. You have a problem, you have a solution. The solution creates a problem. You have a solution. Your solution creates a problem, and so on and so forth. And this is how you develop science. It's an evolutionary perspective on science.
Yes.
So you do that very slowly and study and safely in Germany, in Switzerland, of course, in mechanics as well. But Israel was never a leading entity in a mechanical field or in the old field. Israel became out of nowhere innovation hub because Israel managed to go through this computing age, the data age, in a very successful way. And why that we made it, because first we don't have much resources, so everything had to be done without resources. The good thing in computing, you don't have to pay for a huge lab. You don't have to pay for raw materials. You don't need space. It's everything can be done in a small room with computers.
Yeah.
And also I think if you add to it the culture of developing things fast, we call it in Israel a tower and a wall. Because why we call it a tower and a wall? Because back when Israel was controlled by the British government, by the mandate said that every city that you try to build out of you have to if it has a tower and a wall, you cannot destroy it. But if you're just starting to build it, you can destroy it immediately overnight. So we avoid having the local people to build, to make evidences, to set rules on the ground. So what the settlers did in Israel when they came here is during the mandate they built a city overnight.
Okay.
How do you build a city overnight? You need a tower and a wall. That that was the British rule. So you made overnight a tower in a wall, and that they can't destroy it anymore, and you can build inside it. So the Israeli startup culture is very much a tower on a wall. You have little money, you have little time, you have so you're trying to do something that will work fast. You don't have to do it slowly and safely. You just have to make it work. You make your minimum valuable project in a minimal. We used to call it in the beginning of the 2000 a lean mean machine. Okay, so you have a very lean. You don't have a lot of resources to develop it, and you have to be very mean because you have to be very fast and you have to go out there. Get your goals immediately.
This is fascinating. Benjamin, would you like that we discuss a little bit more about the patent expertise of Roy, or do you want maybe we shift directly into the specificity of Israel?
Oh, I think it's a mix because I'm very interested about the IP strategy of startups in Israel to see there is a difference with Switzerland, for example, or other countries in Europe, and because I think this could be a key to explain why there is this success. But I think already building a tower on the wall during the night, I think this is very interesting, and I think first the incremental innovation has something very interesting also because you start with a product. If you have a business and everything works, you increment it. So you keep your clients with a new product and go on and go on and go on. So this is a solution. But at the same time, going very fast means that you can be very innovative. If it works, perfect. If it doesn't work, you don't care. You kill it and you create a new one. So this is a two extreme part, I would say, but both them can work very, very well. And probably with today's technologies and economy, probably the fast way is probably the better. But let's see what are the key about the success of these startups in Israel.
Well, I can only guess. It's
yeah, of course.
But my feel is like in the end, you asked me before in our preparation, what is the ratio of failure in Israel?
Yeah, right.
And the ratio of failure in Israel is, if you look at initiatives, 91%. 91% of the entities fail. Okay, in the long run, your success rates are very limited. So, it's very hard to build. Most of the cases you fail, and what we are saying that most close in a year and a half, and only few survive 3 years, and only a fraction of the few survive the 5 years. So most of these entities in the end fail. So we say that the best thing is to succeed, but the second best thing is to fail fast.
Yes.
If you fail slow, so you waste your life on a failure. But
yeah,
I think the Israeli, I'm not sure it was meant to be that way, but because in Israel the entities, the VC money is very small. The first rounds you don't get a lot. It's not like you get $15 million or 15 million euros. Okay, go ahead. Sometimes you get less than $1 million. Sometimes you get $1 million. And how much you can run with it? It's a good question. That was it's starting to, maybe in the last years it changes a little bit, and you have more money and you have second timers that know what they want. But when you think about it, the beginning, you started with a very little amount of funds, friends and family money, some the innovation authority from Israel money, they give you $250,000 shekel, which is less than 100,000 franc. So you don't have a lot of funds, and you have to survive with it, and that's it. So you have to define your minimum valuable product very fast. Okay, so you define it fast, and you get your test. You have, maybe if you look at it from evolutionary perspective, from evolutionary perspective, if you fail fast, someone else survive fast.
Mm.
So it's like when you have small entities, they can with a shortest living span, they can you have the mutations come faster. So maybe if
Yeah.
this is what we have when we don't do this langsam übersicher process. It's not very slow and safe. It's something that iterates very fast. You can get to perfection or to whatever works, whatever is suitable. You can get to it faster.
Yes. Yeah.
But with this comes a price of a society that is not experienced in maintaining big entities. So if you look at the Israeli market, you don't see a lot of so-called if you're medium small companies, you do have, but you don't have a lot of medium companies. You have small companies, if you have huge companies, you have big ones, but the medium ones you don't have many because the Israeli startups are being sold either when they become medium size or before they become medium size.
Mhm.
So you have a company like Salesforce that coming and buying, various entities or Microsoft, which is great for the industry, but you don't have the structure of building a long stable company, where you have more of them in France, in Switzerland, and in Germany.
This is fascinating, and I will say something that could literally kill our discussion, but I will say it anyway, about the culture, the culture of failure in France. Of course, there are people are trying to fight over this in the startup ecosystem, in the French startups ecosystem, and beyond in the European one. But here in Europe and France particularly, when you fail as an entrepreneur, you have the stigmata, of a loser, and your family, your friends, your colleague, everybody will boo you, boo, loser, loser. But
Yes.
in small country, very dynamic like Israel, Luxembourg, Singapore, when you fail a startup, it's not a problem. You can make another one. And people back you and help you, and you find a job. You can find a job into another startups, etc. And there is this kind of dynamics. And maybe I'm wrong, but what do you think about this culture of failure?
I agree with you. I think it's very basic. It might be even the main reason. It's combines two things. We are not very Japanese, so a failure is not the end of the way. A
Mm.
failure is
It's a step.
is part of life.
Yeah.
A failure is part of life. We have a lot of I tell my son that there are two types of people in the world: those who fail and those who will never succeed.
Mm.
That's what you have, uh, and there are failures, and failures is part of life, and you feel it in the army, and you feel it when you go to the government and trying to issue something, and you everything is a fight in Israel because it's a young country and it's a very not a such a nice neighborhood. It's we have our so there are always fights. When you are in Switzerland and the train doesn't come on time, it's a big issue.
Yeah.
When you are in Israel and the train come on time, it's an issue. So, so, so it's a different way of looking on life.
Yes.
You don't expect it to succeed sometimes. You just expect it to fail, and you're trying to make your way to how you handle with this failure, how do you handle with this hurdle or something you have to overcome.
Yeah.
So
You are in a survival mode all the time, more or less. But I really like your comparison with evolution, and I think this is a key because you are building fast companies and innovations, and you are failing fast. At the end, it's as like you said, it's an evolution. I mean, it's like a Darwin experiment, but 10 times or 1,000 times faster than other countries. And so they explain why it works, because at the end, we will not count how many times you fail. We will count how many times you succeed. I mean, in the papers, in the news, and so on. If we compare with Michael Jordan, he failed most of the time, but we just keep in mind when he succeeded. And this is the same, I think. And as you said, Ari, and you, Roy, it's based also on the culture of failure. If we estimate that failing is just part of life, as you said, and it's a step to go from zero to a success, it works. If you keep trying, you never fail. Yeah.
And this is why, maybe I'm wrong, but this is why I don't believe that we can export a model of success elsewhere. People send economists in Silicon Valley, in Israel, and Singapore to study, and then to transpose the model elsewhere. It never works because they always forget that culture is something deeply connected to the people. And this is my opinion. Maybe Jeremy do not agree with me.
No, you're right on a part. I think we can export the culture of failing, of failure. I think there is a talk which can be organized in every country. It's called Fuck Up Night. Fuck Up Night. It's you come and you explain your failures and you explain how it helps you to succeed today. So this is great, and I think we should have most of these kind of events. I think we can export the culture of failure for startups. I think we can't export it for VCs and for the investment part, because of course it's not what they want. But probably with time we can export this culture. So yeah, I think we can try. We can export it.
It's not what they want, but if there is an economic model for a failure, if you know that you do your best and you fail 4 times out of 5, but this 1 time that you succeed brings you 10 times more than those 5.
Yeah, you're right.
That's fine. That's we just have to
Yes.
be a risk taker.
Yeah.
And
That explains also why it's more important to invest on a team than just on a project, because the project can fail, but if the team is good and has a great dynamic and is motivated, the team can make another project and maybe can succeed this time. So that's why probably that explain why among all the criteria to invest in a company, the team is on the top 3 of these criteria.
I think you also have to be when it comes to IP.
Yeah.
If you go back a little bit, one of the important things when you draft for startups is to understand that maybe their minimum valuable product, as they see it today, won't be their value tomorrow. Because the first reason in the world for a startup to succeed, usually, so they say, is timing. So if you have the right product at the right time, you will succeed. And if you have the right product, but it's not the right time, it's not going to help you if the time is not there. I drafted patent in augmented reality more than 10 years ago. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. The good tech, good ideas, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Okay, you could draft a very good patent in the blockchain industry, and if you were not in the right years, crypto is dead. So crypto is dead.
Yeah.
So you have to wait another year before the resurrection. But for 6 months ago, crypto was dead.
Yeah.
It didn't help you if you had the best technology to have a great wallet.
And about IP, what is the typical strategy for an Israeli startup?
So I would say it's for any startup. It's not just for Israelis, because even in Israel, our first filing is usually for startups. The US, it's the most important market for us, and then the European market, the Japanese market, Korean, Israeli market is relatively small. But when you draft the patent, you have to cover more than just your product. I think many startups are going with their product to the patent attorney, and it's a mistake. It's a mistake from lots of reasons. From the basic perspective, which is your product is what you do and not how you do it. And a patent is not good for that. And second, it's not flexible. If you change your product, you change your cover, the coverage is not there anymore. And we lose this evolutionary perspective and the ability to be agile about what we do. So those are two perspectives. In more detail, there are two types of innovation in the world as I see it. There is one is business innovation. Business innovation is very important, but it is what you do. Okay, for example, if you are the first one to have coffee machines in bus stations, where maybe you need it because in Israel the bus doesn't come on time, so you need your coffee machine on the bus station that nobody did it before. That's a business opportunity. That's a business innovation. Nobody did it before. But this is not a patent because it's just an abstract idea. It doesn't tell you anything. And if it's not even an abstract idea, someone already said it in a blog or a post, because of the virality of the information, there is very easy. Time travels and information travels with time. So it's already out there. You have to go down deeper to the how you do it. How you allow the coffee machine to be installed in a bus station without electricity, to conditions, weather condition, to be stable. How can you change the milk and the coffee in a simple way, maybe with a delivery guy? How do you charge for it? How do you change the charging? What's the communication? Maybe you can make it the price dependent on the time that it will take the bus to arrive. Maybe you can give it as a compensation for the guys who wait for the car to the bus. I don't know. There are a lot of ideas that you can implement in it, but they all have to be technical solutions to a problem. Once you have a good technical solution to a problem, then maybe you have a chance for a good patent. Okay? Now, in Israel, the investment doesn't come usually for business innovation. Okay, usually people do not invest with you because you have a good business innovation. It has to be combined with some kind of a technical solution. And this technical solution should be the core of the patent, of the main patent. And this technical solution has to be described in a way that is commercially important. Okay, commercially important, namely not what you do, but how you do will be the ones that other people want to copy. Okay, so it used to be a coffee machine, but maybe now it's any vending machine, or it can be any beverage machine, or maybe not just for bus stations, but also for other places. Maybe it should be
train station.
Yeah, we should address the problem and to the innovation point of view, but the how we do it and not the what we do.
Yeah.
And it has to be not obvious to the skill in the art. This is and I always tell the inventor, don't ignore this sentence. Okay, you don't understand what it is, but now that you define the problem, is your solution is the one that comes to mind, or your solution is not? There are other solutions. Is your solution is unique to that problem? So we're trying to reduce the question to the engineering level, to discuss it on their perspective. And of course, because we are in the computer technologies areas, it's also important that we have something that is identifiable, that we will know that someone is infringing. Because if we will not know that someone is infringing, it's better to keep it as a trade secret. And this is many startups in Israel which are focusing on machine learning, deep tech. Sometimes I'm telling them and they tell themselves, okay, maybe it's better to keep it as a secret, at least for a while. And this is something that we do. We have some solutions in the middle, but the best patents are usually the ones that are really combined into the user experience.
Yes.
Okay, the patents which are combined to the user experience are the ones that people will want to copy. Okay, if you just want to copy what's happening at the server side, so you have to find how this is embodied in the client experience. If you don't find a way to cover how to embody the client experience, it's very hard to decide unless you identify why it is reverse engineerable. And this is a good question to ask the client, what is reverse engineerable? So in Israel, the reason that I think we get to good solutions and good outcomes is because we have a very limited budget to begin with, and so we really need to think on something that will provide a good return on investment. We think on the ROI from day one, also for IP, and that's what we really need.
Yeah, so I think we have all the ingredients, more or less, for the recipe of success. Because if we think that we build fast, we fail fast, investment are only or mainly for tech innovation, and we have a culture of failure, if we mix all this, we succeed. I mean, because we will fail again and again and again, and we don't care, because at the point we will succeed, and we will succeed with a tech innovation, not a business innovation. I think in US and mainly in Europe, business innovation are also something that attract investors. But and I think maybe this is a mistake, not always, but maybe, because therefore we will not focus on tech innovation. So business innovation can live maybe 3, 4, 5 years, but can be killed. But if we focus on tech innovation and we are in this survival mode, because we don't have a lot of money at the beginning, so we have to do the best of what we can, and we do it fast, and we fail fast, and we are in this dynamic. We will succeed. It's there is no other end possible, because you will try unless you succeed. So you repeat until you succeed. So
Yes, it's not the easy life, In the end, we say that the hardest life are the life of a CEO, but it is.
yeah. But if we look at a Darwin point of view, it's in the hardest time that life succeed. I mean, you can evolve only if you are in a difficult situation. If life is easy, there is no evolution, and the species will die more or less with time. So we need challenges. We need to struggle, to strive, to be able to survive, and then to evolve. So no, I think we have more or less the key ingredients that explain this success. I mean, the success that we see, because if we compare with the rate of failure, it's high, it's very high, but it's more or less the same than everywhere. But yeah,
It sometimes doesn't feel very just, but it's the way it is, because I saw very gifted inventors and entrepreneurs that failed and failed again, or succeeded and sold too fast. They made the wrong business decisions, but they made the right technical decisions, and other people enjoyed the fruit of their investment. It's hard. It's not an easy.
Exactly. There is not only the technical part, there is also the business part, and this is another discussion, I think, because I am. Yeah, that's can be a question. From your experience, is there a business strategy that startups in Israel have that is not the same than everywhere, or at the end it's more or less the same kind of business strategy?
I think that I don't know how many startups try to prevail first in a country which is not the country they are in. And you can see that from the filing trends in IP.
Yeah.
So you have Israeli file at least 7 to 8 times more in the US than they file in Israel.
Normal, logical, yeah.
Yeah, so most of them, they think big. They go and address the US market, but they start here in Israel. And the Israeli market, it comes to a position that even a success in the local market is not a good indication for a VC.
Exactly.
So the VC tell you, okay, so you started, it's okay, so you sold in Tel Aviv, who cares?
We have there is a joke about that, the Israeli startup who succeed locally in Israel. They there are those who developed an app to buy falafel. So it's ridiculous. Sorry, guys. But it's a joke. But of course, if you're a startup starting in Israel and have a global ambition, you try to knock at the door of an American VC who have his office in Tel Aviv, and then you have his support to conquer the American market, because when you have the American market, then you have the world market. But and what about this duality between American VC being present in Israel, but not just American VC, also big corporations, tech corporation, and also this view of having dual listing both on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq. Does it help, to conquer the world market, or is it not relevant?
I don't know if it's still so common. It's a good question. It used to be. I think that companies today, they are afraid to be listed only in Israel. Also, there are some investors that want the company to be listed first in the US, especially in the last year, because of some political matters that we have in Israel. So you see a lot of pressure of having a investment or company being initiated in the US. But that's not for every size. That's only after you become big enough. It's not the first step or the first round. You have to remember that in the first years, usually the companies, 10, 30 people, the most. It's a small entity, and you don't. So but what I see in many companies that the R&D stays in Israel, and the sales, the management move to the US. You see that a lot.
And do they have the support in any way of the VC who have the dual headquarters? Or are they just money providers, and they don't help, operationally, or in the marketing, or in the hiring, or in the strategy in the US?
I think there are VCs which are very helpful. Some of them prefer US investors. Some Israeli VCs, they have almost all of the big ones, or if not all of them, they have an office in the Valley in New York. It's very common. You have people who are coming to Israel on a quarterly basis from the US that they have in their portfolio, many Israeli companies. I think that there is the connection between the Israeli R&D and the US management is very involvement is very important.
One question: does the investors in Israel have the IP mindset? I mean, do they think about IP when they go to invest in a startup in Israel? Do they do a due diligence, or?
I'm not sure that enough.
Okay.
Some of them, from the habit of becoming, fast, and let's invest and let's go out and let's move fast and let's get to the product and as soon as possible, increasing your value. So some of them, they don't really give enough emphasis on that, and this leads to some bad decisions.
Yeah, sure.
And I saw bad outcomes of such management, of not investing enough in IP or thinking enough on IP in the agro market, in the healthcare market. I think these are very sensitive areas for IP.
Yeah.
And also consumer products, but you don't have a lot of patents, which are, companies, in 2023, there are not so many companies who say, okay, I'm going to create a product and to market the product and to build the logistic and.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore. But in these markets as well, the IP is very, very important. And you see the small mistakes. The small mistakes are, okay, I want to save some money, so I'm not going to file a patent in Israel. and then you have a market in Israel.
Yeah.
Or you have a bigger decision. IP is not waste. It doesn't important enough to have the CTO time. So I'm just going to give it to the VP R&D, and he can do everything he wants. But please don't focus on the main issue because we want to keep it as a trade secret.
Mm.
So we have a company that is doing something, but the patents are completely on something else.
Yeah. These are common mistakes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But when you have less money and less attention, and VC and someone VC is happy about you investing nothing, so the VC is telling you, okay, go and work with this patent attorney that is also doing nothing. So,
Yes. So this is lack of IP education as well, because this is something like we see in Europe, for example. Okay. Thank you. And I had another question. Does Israel startup have what we can call an advisory board most of the time, or no? It's not something common, or
no,
because,
it's very common to have a
okay.
advisory.
So this is maybe a big difference also, because in Europe, what we see today is that deep tech has an advisory board most of the time, but regular startup, I would say, not so many. What we can see that licorns, yes, always have an advisory board.
Unicorns.
Unicorns, thank you, unicorns. But I would say common and regular startups does not have advisory boards, and so in Israel it's quite common to have an advisory board.
Yes, very common. I think it's part of the culture, especially of experienced founders. Once they initiate the founding, when they found the new entities, they always look for advisories. They
Okay,
say, okay, going to give you 2%, 1%, half a percent. I don't know. Depends on your role, and
so
you
that
want to
makes
hear.
a big difference also to the success, I think.
I
Okay,
think I didn't think about it, but as much. But I think you're very right. It's especially if I look here, for example, you see this building here. Uh, so this is Monday.
yeah,
Okay, so and this is Nvidia. So, but here, if you look on Monday building, so I know that Monday is used to be a very small startup, and now they are an empire, and they're very very good. But they started as being very connected to Wix.
hmm,
So they got a lot of input from Wix, and also as an advisory, one of their investors. I think it's very important that the investors or the advisory will be there to give you the right advices, especially you don't have a lot of time to fail, and you have limited time to success, and you don't have a lot
exactly.
of money.
And do you know if in this advisory board there is an IP strategist or an IP guy, or because most of the time you have a business guy, you have a marketing guys, you got this kind of profiles, but it's very rare to have an IP advisor. So is the same from your point of view?
Completely,
Okay, yeah, thank
completely.
you.
Maybe it's also because of I didn't think about it, but people who go and be in becoming a patent attorneys are usually people who are very risk adverse.
Yes.
They want to have their salaries, they want to have a stable work, they want to work in a firm. I'm not sure that many of them will be ready to risk their time, their billable time for potential percents. It's
Yeah.
a good one at least. Good advisory is hard to find. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Um, you talk about the advisory board for tech startups and even big tech startups, but in the common language when we talk about startups is an entity that already have some technology built or quite advanced. But what I love in the innovation is a very early step from the idea to the first the first moment, first years of doing creativity, and particularly in the university system in Israel. Do you have some some element to provide about how the transfer is made, how the TTO scan, what could be transferred into a startup or not? Because it's very important for me, this point. And by the way, and another question on that is how, if you know how your TTO in your technology transfer office are convincing senior scientists to not publish their work and to make it available for free for the world, but to make it a patent to fill a patent instead, because there is always a fight between senior scientists who want, because their careers dependent of the publication, and the patent for making a startup and a commercial entities. So do you have some element about how the technology transfer is done in US through the university to startups?
So I think that the traditional model is the one that you know, and I don't think they invented anything. And then I will give you an example of something that I feel that works better. There is, of course, in the TTOs, usually a person that is responsible for the patent filing, and it's usually the business division that identifies the ideas and then gives them ranks and they allocate them for and identify, going to instruct the innovation. And usually they don't know enough about patents, but they know enough about business, and the people who knows enough about patents don't know enough about business, and there are things which are lost in the way, and also the incentive is relatively limited, especially because if you get a limited amount of percent of a computer-related invention and you don't know about the infringer, and so they don't feel that they're going to be compensated much for it, and sometimes they not feel that they have the energy to do a lot of with it. So you find yourself in a position that you have two types. You have the very gifted researchers that only care about research, but they don't care about the practical aspects, and they usually don't file a lot, although they sometimes invent the most pivotal inventions because they are very disruptive. It's like something that completely change the way we think, completely change the way we work. But usually you got those patents lost, and you have the guys which are very practical and very connected to the industry, already giving a consultancy to some startups, and they understand the importance, and they do file a lot. Okay, sometimes they do file a lot, and you have very good examples of such types that left universities. Universities sometimes don't get enough from it. For example, you have the Mobileye. Mobileye is based on Professor Shashua from the Hebrew University. Amazing, but he left the university and they invented it. I don't want to go to the legalese, but let's say university did not enjoy as much as some people may think from this project. But you see, when the IP is integrated into the process, it is usually integrated into the process when the university gives you other services as well. And you can see that, for example, in hospitals, in Sheba, for example, in Israel, one of the biggest hospitals, they provide the physicians, they connect them to an engineer that works for the hospital, to a designer. So they work together into bringing the device to life. Okay, they work together in not just leaving it in theoretical, academical level, but they actually reduce it somehow to practice. Once you have these guys inside the industry, that's become interesting because at that point the IP is more involved.
Yeah.
Because there is a project, there is a name to it. There is a practical application, there is a name to it, there is an inventor, there is an implementer. It's all structured. It's not just in the air. And then you get good IP and good protection. And I think it's an interesting concept. And just as if I would open for example, a VC, and I believe, for example, in Zurich University, I in theory will say, okay, Zurich University, listen, I will build this, I wouldn't call it TTO, but an implementation center or engineering center, and we'll invest 30 million franc in it, and and we're going to check for the project, and we're going to connect people to implement in-house and make a minimum viable product. And then we might have not only an IP, but also proof of concept and something that is actually working. And this is a real start for a business, a real start for making money out of it. I think much more we'll give it a much more higher success rate than just protecting educational academical ideas.
And do you have some element about how TTO and startup incubators of university make the deal with the startups? I mean, recently we have a kind of, let's say, scandal, but it's maybe a big word for that. The founders of spin-out startup of Oxford University complained in the media because the TTO of Oxford asked too much equity and asked too much royalties, and this is a fundraising killer, for VC. When you come and see a startup that has 40% of a TTO in the equity and the TTO asks 40% royalties, it's just crazy. Nobody want to invest in this startup. Even the tech is great, coming from a Nobel Prize. Nobody want to put money in that because it's crazy. And of course, this is very extreme. And Oxford University defend that, say, hey, we are Oxford. We are one of the best universities in the world with many Nobel Prize, blah blah blah. But this is a business killer.
It's the same here for some universities. I feel it's the same. There are business killers. Some universities do not give enough percentage to make it viable to invest in the project. But I feel that it's changing. It's changing, and people understand that. And every university has this blockbuster drug that they are very happy about, and they look and said, okay, hey, here we gave only 2% to the inventor, and now he's very rich. Okay, so what? That's not the common case. That's once every you don't have a lot of blockbusters.
Yeah. It can be linked to the fact that it was only 2%.
As usually the rule to not let the audience without some key. The rule is to offer to make a deal at 5% max equity with the TTO. They have 5% of your equity, and you offer them 2% royalties if you have a revenue, because most of the time technology-based startups, and particularly deep tech startup, doesn't have revenue. So if one day you have revenue, you can accept to give back some 2%. This is fair.
It's all a play belief in the end. It's even 100% of zero is it's not as good as 2% of 100 million. So
yeah.
But you don't know. But if you kill the investment before it happened, so it always will be 100% of zero.
Yeah.
So what's the point? There's no point in it.
So you say that of course the major strength of Israel in terms of technology was mainly on information technology, computer science based technology, but we as an outsider hear about many news about other field of technology. I don't know, medical device or biotech. You have fantastic biotech. I'm biology by training, so I follow your biotech that are fantastic. And how do you see the evolution of this type of deep tech and tech-based company?
So I think you're right. It's a good point. There is a lot of success with medical devices as well, but also on biotech. But you have to remember that when I say success with info, it's success not just to develop and invent. It's also to market and to bring it to the market. Because when you look at medical devices, you see a lot of innovation, but in the end, you don't see a lot of companies that actually made it and sell products. We have one Medinol. Medinol is creating stents. But even Medinol, before they created stents for the heart, they had to go through Boston, through Boston. and you look at Biosense, a great company which was sold, and only now you see the bios is how J&J are doing. I wouldn't say just doing a lot of money, but having a huge part of the market due to Biosense products. So you see those innovation go in the medical field. They get to the regulatory step, and then it's stuck. Because it's hard to sell to hospitals. It's hard to pass the FDA and maybe CE. So it's easier. It's easier, but it's still hard. So you have challenges for the regulatory steps, but if you look only from the innovation point of view, you are right. Also, medical device doesn't require huge labs, but when you go to the clinical stage,
of course,
that's it.
It's another story. Of course.
And you have some success stories. You have success fakes like Protalix, for example, develop from vegetable-based or fruit-based recombinant products, and for recombinant proteins. They have a very strong, very interesting technology, but also for them, a lot of challenges over time, and you don't see a lot of companies like Protalix. That's just one example.
I have two questions about still, the international comparison. Okay, we understand that what makes the great ingredient for the Israeli ecosystem, but now we have other places who are very dynamic. Taiwan, Singapore, of course, South Korea. South Korea is a crazy country, with Samsung, the second most important minister in Singapore, just after the prime minister, is the minister of science and technology. It's crazy, So I love this concept, of putting the knowledge at the eighth of the country. You have also Luxembourg, very dynamic, Switzerland, of course, and some hotspots like London, Silicon Valley, Boston, etc. As you are both guys IP expert, you have this vision of the global innovation bubbling everywhere. How do you see the future of Israel compared to this hot place? Is the competition become more hard, or you're confident?
I'm not confident at all. Not confident at all. I think that we'll have to invent ourselves from the every day.
Yes, but you are doing it. I mean, you have this mindset to fail fast, to invent fast. So I think you are. I will be more optimistic because you have already this mindset. You see, if you didn't have this mindset, I would say, yeah, I'm okay with you. I agree, because competition is very hard. But you have this mindset if you fail, you find a new way to succeed. And from an evolution point of view, you never can't beat this kind of process. I mean, if you are able to evolve each time, you will succeed. So what do you think?
Is the hungriness is still there? I mean, is the willing to conquer by entrepreneurship, of course, is still there?
Yes, but I think the distractions are very becoming very challenging. It's very the people here, you have to maintain them happy and here.
Sure.
And as long if the country doesn't provide your basic stability and you feel that everything is falling apart, people will leave. Young people will leave, and other countries will enjoy their engineering abilities. I think the fact that the country, we have, like many other countries, issues with fake news, with what is important, segregation created by politics. I think it's a real danger to the market.
Yeah, I would say that maybe Israeli startup
Will solve
yeah, but I think Israeli people will keep succeed, because it will not depend of the country where they are. They have the mindset to succeed, to fail fast, to build fast, and to succeed. So probably based on the country, as you said, yes, maybe we are not so optimistic, but I think if you export its mindset anywhere in the world, it works. So Israeli people will continue to succeed.
it's a very interesting question. You know what depends when you look about an Israeli startup entrepreneur, what he had to pass to become an Israeli startup entrepreneur. He had to go to a school system which is not as stable as a school system in Europe. He had to go to the army. He had to be grown by parents which are a little bit carrying fears from the past.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can have all of that, in the good, nice surrounding of a nice school with.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Maybe you can. I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Interesting
And
point.
you have this. I don't want to bring religion into it because I don't think it's the issue. But you have this Jewish mother that believes in you, where it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, so that was my next question. It was about education, regarding army, but also parenting. Do you think that the education that parents provide to their child in Israel are linked to this mindset of I fail but I try again, and therefore to the success? And another question: do you think that the army mindset, the structure that it can provide you, the way you think, the way you organize things, have a relation also with the success?
I assume it does.
Okay. Yeah,
Not,
I think so. I think so. But
not without a personal price, but I assume it does.
okay. Yeah.
When I went to the army, I wanted to be a film director. When I finished the army, I was registered to computer science and law. Something happened in between.
So now you're on screen, so you're a kind of actor now.
Something happened. But yes, we say that the army is a melting pot. If you don't melt when you go out of it, so
Yeah. So yes, it's another ingredient that you put in the recipe to succeed. So yes, you're right. I mean, if you export this mindset to another country, but you don't have this parenting approach, for example, of the army side, you will lose with time. You will lose part of this ingredient of the recipe. So probably in 10, 20 years, you will not have anymore all these ingredients to succeed.
This is very true because when you have European Jew who want to come in Israel, but who are born in Europe, raised in the European culture, they are a little bit shocked, by the Israeli mentality that is very frank, very direct, very, very, very punchy, and dynamic. They are literally completely shocked, they're gross, they're direct, so, and most of them come back because they can't handle this pressure of the Israeli society. But
So,
I want just to have another question that is related to what I said. In Silicon Valley, in USA, if it's open to entrepreneurs, you can have a special visa for creating this company, So is this great ecosystem for entrepreneurship in Israel, quite open to foreigners. And by foreigners, of course, I'm talking largely. Can someone just take his backpack and a computer and come to the Israel, to Tel Aviv incubator and try to? Is it open, or is it very difficult?
No, I think it's very, very, very open.
Oh, great! That is great to hear that.
Tel Aviv is very, very, very open. I think it's like nobody cares. Do whatever you want.
This is great.
I think people are very friendly, and English is the basic language for communication in all startups and companies. I have people working with me, and they don't speak Hebrew. They don't write in Hebrew.
And
Yeah.
they didn't have, and they don't have what can I say? They're really foreigners in terms of culture. They don't have all the tick. They didn't make they didn't have the Jewish mother. They didn't have the Jewish education. They didn't went to army. So they just come and just integrate to the society and
Yeah.
work and make. This is great. This is really great to hear that.
Yeah.
And
It's,
and on a fiscality point of view, is there any advantages regarding Israel? I mean, in taxes for companies, or is it more or less the same than everywhere?
um, there are some hubs that helps you. It's very easy and acceptable to find places to sit, and you can find organizations that will help you and there's a lot of webinars and organizations and lectures, and the innovation authority helps. You have to pass the bar of innovation, but of course there is help.
Okay.
But the tax perspective is not so helpful. I think the tax is relatively high, not as high as in Germany, but nothing like Switzerland. And it's it's not easy,
Mm.
but I don't think it's easier here.
But
Uh,
I think it's a key ingredient. I mean, if it's too easy, you will lose the mindset again. I think it's really like an ecosystem in biology.
Mm.
If you change a parameter of the ecosystem, the temperature, the pressure, or any kind of parameters, you're your living beings inside this ecosystem will not survive as well as before because they will not be adapted to these new ecosystems. So yeah, probably the Israel example cannot be exactly exported as it is. Or if we want to export it, I think we need to export it but like in a box with all the different
Mm.
ingredients, and we have to keep that in mind. And probably the parenting way is very crucial because, as we know, when we are child before 5 years old, everything that we learn is part of our program to
Mm.
how we live our life as an adult. So if for sure, if parents as always said, we believe in you, whatever you do, for sure when you will create your startups, you will not be afraid to fail. But if you don't have this kind of parenting education at the beginning, and if your parents say always, you have to succeed, otherwise I don't love you, sure, you will not even try to make a startups.
yeah, it's probably something in you. You're right.
Yeah. I think it's a very, very important ingredient. Yeah. As a young parent, I completely agree with that.
Fantastic. So we are reaching the end of this great discussion. We can keep you forever, right? To keep this discussion so fascinating. It's great, so great to hear what you have to say about Israel, and it's great. It's because we are all admiring this country because we are all science and technology lovers here. So when we see hotspots in the world who are doing so great in terms of science, tech, and innovation, we are also dreaming to be part of it. So thank you so much, Roy. Would you like to say some words to end this discussion? Some question you would like it? I asked and I didn't.
Just thank you for your time and for your questions, and let's hope that liberal democracy will stay alive in the world and keep us all happy. That's it.
Yeah.
I
Thank
think
you so much.
it
Thank
depends
you.
on us. Yes.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. It was very insightful and very, very interesting. And it's always nice to exchange with an IP professional.
Thank you. Best regards, and hope to see you around.
Yes, yes, yes. We stay in touch.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye, guys.
Bye bye.